Hey there. Today we are going to be talking about how to prevent and address cravings. That is an issue that comes up all the time. People are always asking me, how do I prevent cravings? What do I do when I get a craving? So this is something that I wanted to delve into a little bit deeper. So first of all, I want to say, for those of you who don't necessarily know me, I am a paleo diet and lifestyle coach, as well as a certified personal trainer. I work with clients one-on-one, and because of that, I have a lot of experience hacking this. So I'm working with people figuring out the nuts and bolts strategies that actually work for real people. This is not pie in the sky theoretical stuff. This is in the trenches, what works for people and makes them feel in control of what they put in their mouth. And in my opinion, that is one of the biggest costs of cravings, is that it diminishes our sense of empowerment and conscious choice. So I think it's really important to talk about ways to get in front of this and what to do if a craving does come up. So first thing that I want to differentiate is that cravings can be either physical or emotional. Now, when we talk about cravings, we are typically talking about cravings for foods that have some combination of sugar and fat, starch and fat, or maybe sugar just by itself. So these are things like pastry, French fries, pizza, soda, candy, chips, right? So we don't really have cravings for protein, for vegetables. I doubt I had to tell you that, but I think it's really helpful to be clear on what cravings are and the fact that there are different categories of cravings. And I don't think I was aware of that. I don't think that I knew that there were kind of different stimuli for cravings. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is physical cravings and where these stem from and how we can get in front of them. So physical cravings tend to come from a lack of metabolic flexibility. So what does that mean? We should be able to effectively burn both fat and carbohydrates, whether that's fat on our body or dietary fat. Now, most of us growing up in the Western world, we've grown up on a lot of carbohydrates, and nowadays there's just food available everywhere we go. People are honestly, it's almost like continuous meal all day long. So our body has for many of us, we've downregulated the pathways that burn fat effectively. So we tend to be sugar burners. So this is definitely going to cause us to be much more susceptible to the blood sugar roller coaster. And, so part of poor metabolic flexibility is poor blood sugar regulation. And there are statistics to show that a large percentage of those in the Western world, America in particular, are somewhere on the pre-diabetic or diabetic spectrum. So when we have poor blood sugar regulation, again, we are going to have, higher blood sugar spikes and deeper valleys. It's in those valleys that our brain is going to be clamoring for glucose. And that's when we get those just hangry feelings, almost uncontrollable urges to eat something with carbs, whether it's with fat, with sugar, whatever. So the other cause of physical cravings, now this is one that you may not be aware of, and this is something I have seen so frequently in my coaching practice, is not eating enough calories in a day or overall. If we are not eating enough food, our body is trying to protect us in every moment. Our body is trying to get everything it needs, and it's going to be sending stronger and stronger signals. So if you're not eating enough, whether accidentally or on purpose, over time, you are going to be much more susceptible to cravings. You are going to be more obsessed with food. I know that was true for myself. All those years I was trying to survive on, 12 to 1,500 calories. Gosh, I was obsessed with recipe blogs and food pictures and that kind of thing. Well, it's because my body wasn't getting what it needed. So those are some of the genesis of physical cravings. Now, I want to talk about how we can prevent these cravings from coming up in the first place. Because we'll talk later about what to do when they do come up, but gosh, if we can prevent them from happening at all, that seems like a huge win. So the first strategy is to eat delicious, satisfying, well-balanced meals. So that sounds very vague, but this is your number one strategy for regaining control over your cravings. So now I know that there will be many, if you've been doing paleo for a while, a lot of people will skip breakfast, do something called intermittent fasting. You probably have better blood sugar regulation. I'm really talking to people who are kind of new to this diet, trying to rebuild some of that metabolic flexibility. For you, I would like to see you eating 3 good meals a day. What do these meals look like? We're looking at a palm-sized portion of protein. Again, this is, on average, a palm-sized portion of protein, a couple of cups of fiber-rich veggies that grow above the ground. This could be greens, cauliflower, peppers, onions, any of that kind of thing. And I'm talking breakfast as well. A moderate amount of healthy fat. So what do I mean when I say healthy fat? I mean non-inflammatory fats. So we're excluding categories of industrial seed oils such as canola, soybean oil, safflower oil. Those are not helpful. I'm talking about healthy fat from either well-raised animals. So maybe you're getting your fat in a fattier cut of meat. If you're getting a grass-fed, pastured, some meat, some wild-caught salmon, maybe that's where your meat source in that, or your fat source in that meal is coming from. If you are only able to get conventionally raised meat, I am going to urge you to get leaner cuts of meat, because as much as I don't like the word toxins, I think it's so overused, that is where animals do store their toxins, is in their fat. So if I'm out at a restaurant, for example, and I'm ordering meat, I'm going to get a leaner cut at a restaurant. So a moderate amount of healthy fat. So that could be from well-sourced meat, that could be from avocado, that could be from olive oil, coconut oil, butter, that could be, some nuts. So that's what we're looking at for fat sources. One thing that I want to say is that I think that in the paleo community, especially folks just starting out, can get very carried away with fat and think that they have to go too low carb. We'll talk a little bit more about how to figure out your macronutrient ratio in another video, but I just want to say, we don't need all the fat, from multiple sources in each meal necessarily. Then, in this meal, depending on your goals and your ability to regulate your blood sugar, you may want some healthy carbs. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about sweet potatoes, beets, below ground vegetables, carrots, that kind of thing. Or we might be talking about a little bit of fruit, such as apples or berries, citrus fruit, that kind of thing. So how do you know how much carbs to include? Again, if you're a very active person, if you have a stressful lifestyle, stressful job, you might want to make sure to get some carbs in there. That's going to help kind of calm you down. Carbs give you a little bit of a hit of insulin, which is helpful for thyroid conversion. So don't necessarily think that if you're eating a paleo diet that you have to eliminate all the carbs. So if you're very active, again, you will maybe want to put more carbs around a workout. So again, we'll talk more about that later. So we're looking at a palm-sized portion of protein, a couple of cups of fiber-rich veggies, a moderate amount of healthy fat, and some amount of healthy carbohydrates. So this meal needs to not only have the logistical components that are going to basically mete out your energy over the next few hours and not cause a massive blood sugar spike and then a crash. That fiber and that protein is really going to help keep your energy stable and consistent over the next few hours so that you feel full and satisfied and much less susceptible to cravings. So you need all those basic components, but it also needs to taste good. If your food is utilitarian only and isn't emotionally satisfying, gosh, you're still going to be kind of looking around thinking, yeah, I'm physically full, but I just didn't get what I needed. So that's where we're making sure that we've got good textures and combinations and spices and herbs and flavors that you like. And that's what I do when I'm working with clients, is we're figuring out the foods that really make them feel like, oh my gosh, that was delicious. So this is your armor against cravings. So pay attention. Make sure your food tastes good. So that's huge. So I alluded to this before. Make sure that you're not accidentally massively under eating. When people come to this lifestyle, we're eating a lot more, vegetables in particular, and that is very filling. And we can feel full and accidentally not get enough calories. So, pay attention to what's happening with the scale. If your goal is weight loss and you're losing weight slowly and sustainably, then, and you're not, having massive cravings, then you're all good. But pay attention to that piece. Just be aware. The last one is making sure that you have healthy snacks with you wherever you go, especially in the beginning. Again, we kind of want to move away from snacks in terms of metabolic flexibility, but in the beginning, I have found this to be a lifesaver. So it's going to be kind of funny how I describe this, but I describe the snacks that are most helpful as good enough snacks. We don't want anything with us that is so amazing and delicious that we are likely to eat it regardless of whether we're hungry or not. So this is where I'm taking things like jerky, some assorted raw veggies, some apples, maybe some nut butters, maybe some avocado to dip in, my veggies or my apple slices. But again, every time we kind of bring in those combinations of flavors, that can become very hyper palatable, and we can, want those things whether we're genuinely hungry or not. So you need to figure out, what are my trigger foods? What are good enough snacks that aren't going to kind of gnaw at me if they're in my bag? So I take things like Epic bars, which I always joke should be called good enough bars. And I don't mean that in a pejorative way, because they have been a lifesaver for me and for some of my clients. But they're definitely not something that I'm going to eat if I'm not hungry, but they're fine if I am hungry. So you need to figure out what that looks like for you. So I think Whole30, they call those kind of hyper palatable foods food without breaks. So, we don't want to be bringing snacks with us that we just feel compelled to eat no matter what. So again, how do these strategies help with cravings? So basically, we're trying to avoid the blood sugar peaks and valleys by getting 3 good meals a day and potentially a healthy snack. Then, we are going to have good sustained energy, and we're not going to be dipping down and, feeling like, I don't even care. I don't care. I just need to feel good now. I'm hitting the latte, hitting the donuts in the break room. We get into that, I don't even care. I need to survive this afternoon, right? So let's get in front of that. And this is the best strategy that I know of to do that. Okay, the next one that I want to focus on maybe even a little bit more, because I think this is the one that we downplay, is emotional cravings. So I am again going to break this down kind of into 2 categories. Basically, emotional cravings can come from, one, not getting our needs met in a healthy way, and I kind of jokingly call this a mojo deficit. So if your week is filled with drudgery, basically maybe it's a job that doesn't light you up, you've got chores, you've got, errands to run, you've got carpool that you have to do, and you're not balancing that out with things that feel restorative and light you up, fun, mojo deposit. So I really, I talk to my clients every week. We strategize, okay, what are, like a bank account, what are your mojo withdrawals? What are your deposits? So we want these to be fairly level because if we are not getting our needs met, we are going to, all we can think about is that bowl of ice cream, right? We're going to get the goodie somehow. We are. I mean, that's just how our brains work. We want the dopamine. We want that hit. And if we're not scheduling in fun social time or, fun activities, time with friends, or just reading a book or taking a walk, whatever feels really just like a treat to you that isn't food, you might consider just kind of brainstorming a list, as silly as it might sound. I will tell you that I have somehow kind of a visceral response to the term self-care. I don't know what that is, because I know that, it's got, some necessary components, but again, it's somehow the, mojo deposits resonates with me a little bit more, because I don't want to go take a bath. I want to go outside and I want to hack at the rose bushes and the weeds, and I want to mow the lawn in peace. Like, to me, that's a mojo deposit. So don't hesitate to put things down on your list that would be weird to other people, right? So whether it's cooking or whatever it is. So make sure that you are not in a mojo deficit, because otherwise food is going to assume this importance in your life that it really shouldn't have. When you're out there doing fun things and having neat things to look forward to throughout your week, you are much less likely to be thinking about your kids' snack packs in the cupboard. I mean, it's just sad, the stuff that we're like, I just need something right now. So I want you to think about that, kind of mojo bank account and what that looks like for you. So the second type of emotional craving that we have is really just not acknowledging our feelings in the moment. So many times we'll just kind of get that alarm bell in the back of our mind. I'm hungry. I want something. Well, this is where we need to own our pause, just a little pause. This is where we get our power back, is stopping for a second, asking ourselves a series of questions. And again, these are questions that my clients have with them all the time that they can kind of run through. So the first one is, am I hungry? How do I know? Well, does real food sound good? Do I want some chicken, some vegetables? Does an apple sound good? If it does, you may be hungry. So you know what to do. That's, end of story. Eat some food. If none of those things sound good, but holy mackerel, a donut or something from Taco Bell sounds good, yeah, you're not likely physically hungry. So this is where you need to go a little bit deeper and just ask yourself, and this doesn't have to take long, what am I hungry for? If not food, what do I need right now? And the common culprits that I see, people need a break. They're, physically, they just need to stop what they're doing, get up from their desk, go for a short walk, take some deep breaths, get a little change of scenery. This can be 2 minutes. I mean, this doesn't have to be, a half an hour break. Have a glass of water. Just kind of break your cycle. So maybe you need a break. Maybe you need a physical outlet, whether it's a walk, some body weight squats. Maybe you just need to get some of that tension out. Maybe you need some connection. Maybe you need a phone call to a friend. Maybe you're thirsty. So again, kind of walking yourself through this little checklist is so empowering, because again, if hunger isn't the problem, food isn't the solution, right? So we want to own the power of that pause. Another question to ask yourself is, how will I feel about this choice in an hour? That's going to tell you all you need to know. If you go ahead, somebody's brought in, birthday cake or whatever, you're like, oh, whatever, I'll just have a piece. Just stop for a split second and, how am I going to feel about this choice in an hour? Right? Because you're going to, mow through that cake in, 42 seconds. And we're just so often living in that regret space. So I don't want that for you. Another question to ask, will this choice make me proud? So many of us are just frustrated at our lack of integrity. We just don't do what we tell ourselves we would, right? And so we get to the end of the day, we're laying there in bed and we're like, really? Another day and I blew it, right? Well, we have to go back to the notion that every single choice that we make is a chance to make ourselves proud, right? And does that mean that we have to be perfect in every choice or in every day? Of course not. But you can be proud of a choice if you make it consciously. If somebody brings in something, or you're out at a restaurant and you decide, you know what, this wasn't in my game plan, but this is worth it. On a scale of 1 to 10, this is an 8, 9, or a 10. This is worth it. Gosh, you've made an empowered choice, but then you don't get to regret it later, right? But again, so what we're doing here with these questions, we are building a relationship with ourselves. We're learning to trust ourselves again, that we can actually follow through with what we told ourselves we're going to do. So these strategies, honestly, owning the pause, the power in the pause, this applies everywhere in our life, right? Before we, lash out at our kids or, honk at somebody in traffic, really just, that split second pause. Is this a choice I'm going to feel good about? And it just, again, it just puts us back in the driver's seat of our life. We're making conscious decisions, and that's a powerful feeling. So the last question that I have clients ask themselves is, okay, I really do want this thing. Can I wait 15 minutes? That's, most of us, that's just not that long of a time. Okay, fine. I'll do one other task and then I'll reevaluate in 15 minutes. I would say 8 out of 10 times that craving will pass. So what I want to really give to you is that emotions are very short-lived. So I think they last about 30 seconds basically, but we fuel them and give them so much power. We're, oh my goodness, I'm having a craving. Oh, what's happening? It's like, breathe. It's okay, right? Whether you eat the thing or don't eat the thing, none of this is earth-shattering. So just take a deep breath and understand you get to choose. You are an autonomous adult and you get to decide what you put in your mouth or you don't. So again, let's go back. You've got healthy snacks with you. So if someone has brought something in and, you decide, gosh, that made me realize I am hungry, well, that's your good option there. So I hope this is helpful. I know we covered a lot of territory in one video here, so I will, love to hear questions and feedback. If there's something that I didn't cover for you, I would love to hear that. I want to reassure you that these cravings do abate as you recover some metabolic flexibility. I have a number of clients that came to me that were actually diabetic and, taking metformin. They've, massively scaled that back. Their blood sugar numbers are so much better and their cravings are largely gone. So that's not to say that they won't have some emotional cravings sometimes. So that's where we have to cover both ends of this. But it just makes everything so much easier when our blood sugar is not all wonky. So that's not a technical term, so don't quote me on that. So I am looking down at some notes. I wanted to make sure that I covered some things, and I'm laughing because what also came off the printer is my daughter's college paper on the history of Catholicism in Europe. So I'm not going to cover that today. I promise. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. And again, I will do a video here very shortly on kind of how to figure out your macronutrient ratio, where to start there. And I know that a lot of you have questions about that. So take care and have a great evening. And just remember, the goal here is to live our best life. and to be healthy. It's not to be a perfect dieter, right? We're not expecting perfection. Our goal is to be happy and empowered in our life. So breathe. This is great to figure out, but don't let it subsume you or stress you out. All right, take care. Talk soon.